All right. So, boys and girls, we are going to start with our chapter today, and that is financial markets. So, we are pretty much aware what are financial markets, right? So, financial market is a market for finances, a market which deals with two kinds of funds, short term and long term funds, is a financial market. So, we can also say that financial market is a bridge between the companies which are in need of funds and the households, that is people like you and me, the families who have surplus funds, the ones who save their funds. So what does financial market do? Financial market acts as a bridge between these two parties. So it helps in two things. One is mobilization and second is channelization. So it helps in mobilization and channelization of funds from the units which have surplus funds, that is the households, and the units which are in deficit of funds, that is the companies. So the financial markets make the flow of funds possible from the surplus units, that is the households, to the deficit units, right? So you can see here what are the two things that it does. It performs the allocative function. So one is channelization and mobilization. So when I say mobilization, it moves the financial markets, make the movement of funds possible from the surplus units to the deficit units, or in other words, from the savers, that is the households, to the investors. Here, investors means the people, the companies who are looking for investments. So investors here, we are not talking to the ones who are investing the funds, but the ones who are looking for investment, that is the corporates. And it performs allocative function. Now, what do you mean by allocative function? Allocative function means that it helps the people to invest their money in the corporates which promise the highest return, or which rather not promise, which give the highest return. So in simple words, if you are an investor, now when I'm saying you are an investor, that means you are the household who has surplus funds and you want to invest your funds in the corporate. You are going to invest it in the company which is giving the best results. That is called as allocative function. That means the funds are made available to the companies, to the corporates, to the business houses which perform the best. ओके अब यहाँ पे क्या है, आपको ये सामने जो दिया हुआ है, देखो पैसा तो एनीवेज कॉर्पोरेट्स में ही जाता है. इवन इफ savers they open a bank account, so the money is not in the bank account all the time. The money that savers or households give to the bank also invests it in the corporates, or the savers can directly purchase the securities or securities of the company and directly invest it. So money is going to flow to the corporates only, whether through banks and other financial institutions or directly in the way of investment of securities. All right. Coming on to the functions of the financial market, which is an important topic also, because I am going to correlate this with the functions of the stock exchange, right? So what are the functions? The first function is mobilization and channelization of funds. That is, as I said, allocative function. So what does a financial market do? It mobilizes, that means makes the movement of funds possible from the surplus units to the deficit units. Not only this, it makes it possible for the investors, for the savers to allocate or invest their funds in the most profitable and productive units. That's called as allocative function. The second function is facilitating price discovery. Now, how is the price of any kind of commodity discovered? Through the forces of demand and supply. Now, when we talk about financial markets, who is the supplier? It is the households who are the supplier. And who is in asking for the funds? It is the company. So the forces, the forces of interaction between the households and the corporates, or the investors and the suppliers, it is represented by demand and supply, and these forces of demand and supply help in determining the prices of the securities. So agar supply zyada hai, that means there is a lot of funds available in the market, तो obviously supply जब ज्यादा हो जाती है तो prices down हो जाते हैं. On the contrary, if there is a huge demand and the supply is low, the prices will go high. So this is how price discovery is facilitated. Now, my dear boys and girls, so when we talk about stock exchange, so ये facilitating price discovery, I'm putting an asterisk over here. and providing liquidity to financial assets. These 2 points are the same in the functions of a stock exchange also. Okay. And in a way, the other two
Ma'am,
functions
can you
also come, but not in the
repeat this
same way.
point?
Come again, please.
Ma'am, can you repeat this point?
The facilitating price discovery.
Yes, ma'am.
It's very clearly given on the screen also, beta. See, the households are the suppliers of the funds, and business houses or corporates, they are the ones who demand the funds, right? So the interaction between these forces of suppliers and suppliers, that is the households with the surplus funds, and the corporates who are in demand of the funds. The interaction between these two forces of demand and supply helps in determining the prices of the securities. Next, we come on to providing liquidity to financial assets. Financial market is a common market. It is an open market where the securities can be bought, sold, resold, rebought. That means it is a market where buying and selling of securities takes place at any given point of time. So the money of the investors is not blocked. It can be liquidated into cash, and cash can be converted into securities at any given point of time. So the money is never blocked. That is what we call as providing liquidity to financial assets. And the last one is reducing the cost of transaction. There are two factors how the cost of transaction is reduced. One, financial market is a common platform that brings the buyer and the seller of securities together. So when there is a common platform, एक marketplace provide किया जहाँ buyers और sellers दोनों parties इकट्ठा आ रही हैं, they will not have to waste their time, money, energy, and resources to locate each other. So that cost is reduced. Second, financial markets also share a lot of important information about the corporates, and that is again, so the investors don't have to invest their own resources in looking for that information. So that again reduces the cost of transaction. So see, the first point, valuable information is provided, and the last point, a common platform is provided, which saves time, money, energy, and all of the resources of both the buyer and the seller, hence reducing the cost of transactions. So I repeat, out of these 4 functions of financial market, the second one, facilitating price discovery and providing liquidity to financial assets. This is the same for stock markets also. Moving on to the segments of financial market. So financial market is divided into 2 segments, money market and capital market. Money market is the short-term funds market, whereas capital market is for long-term funds. Now, in grade 11th, we had studied there are 3 kinds of funds, short, medium, and long. So यहाँ हम medium term को नहीं study करते अलग से. Medium term is automatically covered sometimes with long-term or sometimes with short-term funds. Usually short-term funds are for 365 days. That is max 1 year. So when I'm talking about long-term funds, medium-term funds are automatically covered. So we don't use the medium-term funds here in this chapter. All right. So what is a money market? It's a market for short-term funds. It helps the corporates to raise short-term funds for meeting their seasonal requirements or covering up the flotation cost, or it also helps in covering up the maintaining the CRR ratio. So there are various instruments which are dealt in the money market. In your syllabus, it is not clearly given that money market instruments are there, but questions आते हैं, इसलिए money market instruments को पढ़ना is important. So I'll take you through the money market instruments quickly. These are the participants of money market. Now you can see who: RBI, NBFCs, large corporate houses, commercial banks, state governments, mutual funds. कौन नहीं है यहाँ पे? यहाँ पे you don't have individual or retail investors. ये नहीं दिख रहे आपको. Okay. So we say, so do you mean to say that individual investors or retail investors don't participate in money market? They are allowed to participate, but since it's a highly volatile market, therefore, individuals and retail investors usually don't participate. That's why you can see that their name is not given in over here. So they're not forbidden. There is no prohibition, but usually they don't participate in the money market. Coming on to money market, the features, एक बार quickly देख लीजिए. These are close substitutes for money. हालांकि when we will do the money market and the secondary market, तो अपने आप उसमें cover up हो जाएगा. So money market instruments are close substitutes for money. These are unsecured and short-term debt market instruments. Then they are less risky. Why they are less risky? Because highly credit-worthy companies and organizations participate in it, and they are highly liquid. So we say they are close substitutes to money. That means they can be converted into cash very quickly. So these are the 5 money market instruments that we will be studying. I will first of all take treasury bill, then I will take call money and commercial paper. Sorry, not commercial paper, call money and certificate of deposit. And thereafter, we will take commercial paper and commercial bill. So you can see there are 4 C's over here and only 1 D. Now, when you look at this slide right now, this is exactly the way you should be writing your answer in points. Okay, jitna points mein likhenge utna acha. I've been telling you time in and time out. So I'll start with treasury bills first. So what are treasury bills? I'm not going to read each and everything from there. You can read it at your end. I'm just gonna explain. So what are treasury bills? Treasury bills are negotiable promissory notes issued by RBI on behalf of the government of India. So whenever the government of India is short of short-term funds or is lacking short-term funds, it asks RBI to issue treasury bills on its behalf. It is a promissory note made by the government of India. All right. So it is next, it's kind of a guaranteed instrument. The second thing is it is negotiable. It is a promissory note. These are also called as zero coupon bonds. Why zero coupon bonds? Because these are issued at discount and redeemed at par. That is one thing you have to understand. Second, these are issued for a period of 15 days to 365 days. क्योंकि कोई भी शॉर्ट मनी मार्केट इंस्ट्रूमेंट है, द मैक्स ड्यूरेशन इज विद इन 1 year. सो विद इन 1 year, व्हेन आई से 365 days मींस 365th डे उसका पेमेंट हो जाना चाहिए. इट शुड नॉट गो टू द नेक्स्ट ईयर. And the other thing most important about T-bills is that they are always issued in minimum amount issued is 25,000 and multiples thereof. That means the minimum amount invested in a treasury bill is 25,000, 50,000, 75,000 and so on. So 25,000 is the minimum amount that is invested in treasury bills. So that is your treasury bills or T-bills, also called as zero coupon bonds. Okay, moving on to the other 2 money market instruments. As I said, I'll take call money and certificate of deposit. Now, these 2, call money and certificate of deposit, these are exclusively used by banks only. तो एक हो गया जो गवर्नमेंट यूज करती है, 2 instruments हैं which are used by banks. Now, what is call money? Call money is also called as interbank transaction. Call money is short-term funds which is borrowed by one bank or by a bank with shortage of funds and from a bank which has surplus of funds. So these are the funds which are borrowed by one bank borrowed by one bank to another. The purpose of call money is to maintain the CRR, cash reserve ratio. Okay. And the duration can be a couple of hours. It can be 1 day or a few hours to 15 days. ये आपको ध्यान रखना है कि call money is not for 365 days. From a few hours or a 1 day to maximum 15 days. The return or the interest on call money is called as call rate and it is highly volatile in nature. It keeps on changing from hour to hour. Itna volatile hota hai. So we say it's highly volatile and it changes from hour to hour. Please stop scribbling on my screen. It's an earnest request. Keep your hands to yourself. Okay. Now, this is also important. This will help you identifying which instrument we are talking about. They say that there is an inverse relationship between call rates and other short-term money market instruments like certificate of deposit and commercial paper. इसका मतलब क्या है कि if there is a rise in in call money, then the other sources of funds will become cheaper. Inverse relationship, contrast में चलते हैं. तो if there is a rise of money market, then the other sources of funds will become cheaper. So inverse relationship यहाँ पे रहती है. The second is certificate of deposit. This is again used by the banks only. And when it is used, these are used by the banks. So this is again a negotiable instrument, unsecured negotiable instrument issued by banks. Parishi, kindly keep your hands away and don't scribble on the board. Otherwise, I will have to remove you. That's the last and earnest warning to everyone here. All right. So certificate of deposit, these are used by the banks in the times where the demand for withdrawals is high. Demand for withdrawals and demand for loans is high, but the deposits are less. Okay. So मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया कि बैंक में जो पैसा डिपॉजिट करते हैं लोग, अकाउंट होल्डर्स, वो बैंक अपनी तिजोरियों में नहीं रखता है. बैंक उनको कॉर्पोरेट्स में invest कर देता है. So at any given point of time, there is a certain amount of cash which is available in the bank. Now, in situations where the withdrawals are high, where people are demanding for loans, उस समय में बैंक का पैसा तो लगा हुआ है कहीं और. That's why what does the bank do? Bank borrows it from general public and other institutional investors, and that is done through certificate of deposit. The time period of certificate of deposit is anywhere from 3 months, that is 91 days to 1 year. अब अगर आपको कहीं भी days का confusion हो जाता है, you can always write that the maximum period is within 365 days or within 1 year. So those are the three money market instruments that we have done: treasury bills, that is T-bills, call money, and certificate of deposit. Beta, I am going to take your queries towards the end, not right now. Okay, so kindly keep it to you only. Next, we move on to commercial bill. Commercial bill is the most common instrument that you know. So whenever goods are bought and sold on credit, a bill of exchange is issued. That is called as a trade bill. When that trade bill is retired or discounted with a bank, it is called as commercial bill. I repeat, a commercial bill is nothing but a bill of exchange which is retired or discounted with a bank. So when it is discounted, when the money is received from the bank, it becomes commercial bill because it is commercially exploited and is the most common source of short-term fund. Getting back to commercial paper, which is again important. What is it? It is an unsecured promissory note which is issued by highly credit-worthy companies. Okay, it is issued by highly credit-worthy companies for basically two purposes. What is one? The first purpose is to provide for seasonal and working capital needs. So this is generally used to provide for seasonal and working capital needs. And second is to provide for the flotation cost. Okay, so what happens is whenever the companies issue securities, and when I say securities, it includes both shares and debentures. We did it flotation cost yesterday. So whenever the company issues securities, it incurs a high flotation cost. So इस flotation cost को cover करने के लिए company commercial papers issue कर देती है ताकि उनके पास short term funds इकट्ठा हो जाए. And this process of using or issuing commercial paper to cover the flotation cost is called as bridge financing. Okay. This is called as bridge financing. And commercial paper is an alternative to bank borrowings. It is see, whenever the money will be borrowed from bank, collateral will be required. And here we know that these are unsecured promissory notes. So when a company doesn't want to borrow from the bank, it doesn't want to raise an OD or CC, then it can always go for commercial paper because one, the paperwork is less over here, and most important, collateral is not required. So these are the 5 money market instruments. You may be asked questions to identify and then explain it. So explanation, please give in point-wise manner. After having done the 5 money market instruments, we will move on to the capital market. तो पहले हमने क्या किया था? I'll take you back over here. We were talking about the financial market, which is divided into money market and capital market. Money market is the short-term funds market and capital market is the long-term funds market. So we are done with the short-term funds market as well as the instruments used over there. Now we move on to the capital market. Features of capital market आपके syllabus में नहीं है, तो don't even bother about it. So capital market is a market which facilitates or which makes available the long-term funds, which can be used by a company for anywhere from 3 years to n number of years. Now, this also is not in syllabus, so cut it out. Money market and capital market का difference हम बाद में करेंगे, पहले capital market को थोड़ा अच्छे से जान लेते हैं. Capital market is divided into 2 further categories. And what are those 2 further categories? Primary market and secondary market. Primary market is also called as the new issue market. Why new issue market? Because it is the market which deals with fresh securities, a market where the securities are issued by the companies to the households. Okay. So corporates issue the securities directly to the people who want to invest in the securities. New issue markets, it is called. And secondary market is called the market for existing securities. Another popular and common name for secondary market is stock exchange. So we move on to the primary market and we will be studying various ways in which securities can be issued in the primary market. So you need to understand that in primary market, the prices are decided by the corporates. The direct interaction is between the corporates and the इन्वेस्टर्स. तो कॉर्पोरेट्स डिसाइड करते हैं कि किस प्राइस पे उन्हें अपनी सिक्योरिटीज को लॉन्च करना है या बेचना है. यहां पे फोर्सेस ऑफ डिमांड एंड सप्लाई वर्क नहीं करते. फोर्सेस ऑफ डिमांड एंड सप्लाई आते हैं व्हेन द सिक्योरिटीज रीच द स्टॉक एक्सचेंज. ऑलराइट. So here the methods of issue of securities in the primary market. The first one is public issue. Okay, जिसे हम कहते हैं IPO, initial public offer. So offer through prospectus or public issue through prospectus. So this is the most traditional way. Prospectus हमने पढ़ा था grade 11 में भी. Prospectus is an invitation to the general public to subscribe the securities of a company. This prospectus can be in the way of a brochure. It can be in the way of an advertisement published in the newspapers, economic newspapers, economic journals, or through a leaflet or a booklet also. For example, when you will take admission in college, you will have to purchase the prospectus of the college, right? So public issue through prospectus means inviting the general public to subscribe the securities of a company. So that is IPO. When the same IPO is done using electronic media, it is called as eIPO, electronic initial public offer. That means now the securities can be brought. पहले क्या था? Stock exchanges were not allowed for the new issue. इसीलिए तो हम उसको secondary market कहते हैं. But now stock exchanges have been allowed to launch the securities. That means initial public offer भी stock exchanges के through आता है. So if the securities are being sold through an electronic medium of the stock exchange, it is called as eIPO. All right. So IPO and eIPO. Then we move on to offer for sale. Now, what is offer for sale? In offer for sale, the securities are sold en bloc. We use the word en bloc. The securities are sold en bloc. I think it's not CK, it's only K. Just check it out. I think it's only K, en bloc. Either BLOC or BLOK, en bloc. En bloc means in bulk. So under this, the securities are sold in bulk to an intermediary. That means an intermediary firm of brokers who purchase these securities at a price a little less than the market price. And in turn, these firms will sell it to the general public. अब होता क्या है इसमें कि कंपनी को सारे फंड्स एक साथ मिल गए, उनको टाइम वेस्ट करने का जरूरत नहीं है, एंड द एजेंसीज और द इंटरमीडियरीज दे विल सेल इट टू द जनरल पब्लिक इन अ लेटर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. सो द कंपनीज, द कॉर्पोरेट्स विल नॉट हैव टू वेट फॉर टाइम, एंड ऑन द अदर हैंड, सिंस द इंटरमीडियरीज आर गेटिंग इट इन बल्क एंड एट अ प्राइस लेसर देन द मार्केट प्राइस. सो लेट्स से इनिशियल पब्लिक ऑफर में कंपनी ने ऑफर किया सिक्योरिटी एट द रेट ऑफ 10 ईच, लेकिन उन्होंने ब्रोकर्स को दे दिया एट 9.50 पर शेयर. सो इधर ब्रोकर को 50 पैसा पर शेयर बच रहा है, लेकिन वो बेचेगा शेयर इन्वेस्टर्स को एट द रेट ऑफ 10. सो 1 रुपए की उसको कमाई हो जाएगी हर शेयर पे. दैट इज व्हाट वी कॉल एज ऑफर फॉर सेल. ऑलराइट. Moving on to private placement, it's very clear. Private placement is when a company does not want to issue its securities to the general public, rather to a few selected institutional and private investors. It is called as private placement. Okay. So selective institutional and individual investors को जब shares issue किए जाते हैं, that is private placement. It is cost saving, time saving, energy saving. And last is rights issue. Rights issue is only for the companies who are already existing and who have already issued equity shares earlier. So what is rights issue? It is the right of the existing shareholders that every time a company issues equity shares, or rather I should say further equity shares, they have to be offered to the existing shareholders in a certain proportion. So why? Because we know that when more equity shares are issued, the rights of the existing equity shareholders are diluted. So in order to avoid this dilution, a company will have to offer its equity shares to the existing shareholders, as it is their right to subscribe to those securities. That's why it's called as right issue. So the 5 methods of flotation of securities in primary market. We'll quickly move down to the secondary market, that is a stock exchange. We know it's a market for pre-existing securities. So this is a market where the investors can invest, disinvest, and reinvest. I repeat my words: invest, disinvest, and reinvest. Now, what are the functions of this market? So, first is safety of transactions. Stock market is something which is under the direct vigil of SEBI. हर चीज जो स्टॉक मार्केट में होती है वो सेबी के गाइडलाइंस के अकॉर्डिंगली होती है, सेबी की वॉच के अंडर होती है. सो द बेसिक पर्पस ऑफ अ स्टॉक मार्केट इज टू इंश्योर द सेफ्टी एंड सिक्योरिटी ऑफ ट्रांजेक्शंस. इट इंश्योर्स दैट credit-worthy companies are listed on it, and the people who invest the money in the stock exchange, in the companies through the stock exchange, their money, their funds remain safe and secure. In other words, the stock market does its level best to enlist only the companies which are trustworthy, credit-worthy, so that the money of the investors is not drowned. Then it contributes to economic growth. अब ये कैसे economic growth में काम contribute करता है? बेटा, there are two ways of capital formation or investment. So एक होता है हमारा direct capital formation और एक होता है indirect capital formation. When companies issue securities to investors and investors invest their money. In other words, households invest their money in the corporates. ये कहलाता है डायरेक्ट कैपिटल फॉर्मेशन. तो सरप्लस यूनिट्स का फंड्स कहाँ जा रहा है? कॉर्पोरेट्स के पास. इससे कैपिटल फॉर्मेशन हो रहा है, यानी आपकी कैपिटल यानी इंडस्ट्री और इकोनॉमिक फॉर्मेशन हो रहा है. नाउ स्टॉक एक्सचेंज करता है इनडायरेक्ट कैपिटल फॉर्मेशन. व्हाई? बिकॉज हियर if when the investors want to disinvest, let's say you have purchased the securities of Reliance Industries. अब आपको पैसा चाहिए. So you are not going to sell those securities back to Reliance Industries. कंपनी आपका पैसा वापस नहीं दे रही है. You may sell those securities to me. I may sell it to someone else. So what is happening? आपने सिक्योरिटीज खरीदी कंपनी से, कंपनी के पास पैसा पहुंच गया. अब आपका पैसा सर्कुलेट होता रहेगा. कैसे? आप मुझे वो सिक्योरिटीज बेच सकते हो, मैं किसी और को बेच सकती हूँ, and so on and so forth. This is called as indirect capital formation. Now, why did I tell you this? Because stock exchanges, by the process of investment, disinvestment, reinvestment, and indirect capital formation, they contribute to the economic growth. Okay. Last is spreading of equity cult. Last on this slide. Spreading of equity cult. Cult we know is a short form for culture. So stock exchanges encourage the people to come forward and invest in the equity shares, in the securities of the companies, ensuring them that their investments are safe.